this is our mobile client. I'm actually simulating an iPad here. If I'm a maintenance technician, I'm going to kind of give you the day in the life of a maintenance technician. He comes in the morning, and instead of going to the conference room and picking out 10 work orders he has to work on that day, he would just take a look at his iPad and what work he had to do that day. So you can create your own lists here. So if I wanted to create a list that was just for my location or just for this set of assets, I can totally create that list and it would be here every day for me. I've created one called Work Scheduled for Me. So I can look, I have 3 work orders that are scheduled for me today. So let's look at one. All right, so here's a work order. It's a forklift. It looks like it's in this functional location. It's not started at this point. There's more information down here. I can look at the notes. It says, please inspect forklift, follow checklist. So we have a thing called a checklist where you can actually go through particular checks. Before I do that, I actually want to find out some more information about the asset. I'm a little curious. Maybe I want to know when the last time it was worked on. Are there any other work orders that are scheduled for this forklift? Maybe I should do those at the same time. So I can get any information I want by just clicking on this asset. I can find out more about this asset. So I can see there's actually 8 work orders that are for this asset right now. Now, they're not actually downloaded to my iPad at this moment. That's a syncing thing. We don't download every work order to every iPad because we'd be syncing forever. But I can get that. I can download it here if I wanted to. I can look at the requests. Maybe there's a request that I want to turn into a work order and fix right here on the spot. I can look at its bill of material. I can look at any attachments. There may be a user manual or maybe a video on how to operate this forklift, or it could be anything. I can also look at any attributes that have been created. I can look at any counters. Maybe I have an odometer counter on this particular asset. I doubt I do on a forklift, but well, no, I was wrong. I do. So I can add a counter reading if I want to. I can, create a new counter reading right here. And I can get a full history. So if I want to click on this, I can see every work order, every location change, everything that's happened to this forklift is at my fingertips. Now, traditionally, when you were holding a paperwork order, this was hard information to get, right? You probably had to call on the radio to your manager and say, when was the last time we changed the oil on this thing? Or you had to drive back to the office or walk back to the office to find that out. But now with a mobile device, you have instant access to that, which is powerful. Now, once I'm standing back here on my work order, I can do things like put it into progress. I can change the state of it. But ultimately, if I'm a technician and I want to get to work on this, I can come in here and start working on it by going through my checks. So this is very a popular feature especially for regulated industries like the food production industry or anything that's regulated by the EPA, because they actually have a documented checklist of who did these procedures, when they did them. Because I'm logged in as me. As soon as I check something, it says, it's recording that Jesse Zadanek, for instance, if I click on the check and I can say the exterior looks okay, the engine compartment looks okay, the fluid level's good, I did lubricate it, and I read the hour meeting for the forklift. Yeah, I read the hour leader for the forklift, and it was, 200. Okay, so when I hit save, that's actually going to record that Jesse Zadanek did these things at 10:40 a.m. Eastern time, and I'm going to have an electronic record of that. So that's important for some companies. Obviously, I'm going to cancel out of this and not save it for demo purposes later. But you can have different headers. So you may have checks with the engine off or checks with the engine on, then a whole different set of checks. So you can group them in different groups. You can also look at any faults, faults are basically, when the engine seizes and I can't run the forklift anymore, that's a fault. The remedy would be replace the the engine because we just have to replace it. So you can create those. It's kind of a way to start creating a knowledge base. So when this happens, this is usually the remedy. So it's a way of collecting data. But ultimately, when I get done fixing this, I'm going to come in here to my items and say, what did I consume? I can look at what my forecast was, which means what I should have consumed. I should have consumed this A0001 part, a cable, and a cabinet. I can easily click on that. I can see where that because I'm actually inside of the ERP system. This is real-time data into the inventory system in your ERP. I can see what warehouse it's in. I can pick the number to consume, and I can see what is available. Actually, since I have 0 available here, it's not going to let me consume one. But I do have, if I had a different configuration, I can consume one. So that's a bad example. Let's see if I have anything here. No items for consumption. Yeah. So I need to update my inventory list. But anyway, I can also add a random part. So if I want to search for a part, I can do that very easily. I can even, if I'm standing next to the bin, I could even, QR code it. And you see my cat there, but on the back of my on the back of my couch, on the back of my computer. But I could easily stand there, and I could just use the QR code of the iPad, the camera of the iPad, to scan the QR code and get my parts. I could also do that with assets, which is a good feature. But once I consume my items, then ultimately I can consume my labor. Let's say I worked on this for my forecast for 2.5 hours. I could change that, but let's say it did take me 2.5 hours, and I register it now. So there's a registration for Jesse Zadanek, and in the background, it knows how much you put in an hourly wage for your employees. So it's actually charging the work order and ultimately the asset real dollars because of that labor charge. If there are any attachments for this work order, here's an attachment. This forklift's seen better days, so I can tell it needs to be fixed. And ultimately, that when I get done with the work order and I have it to where I've completed the work, I can come up here and I can put it into a stage of work completed. And ultimately, I'm not going to change this stage now for demo purposes later, but I could. And then ultimately, we could close that order out. And over time, we're going to accumulate costs on not only that asset, but on where that asset is installed in that location. And it's keeping track of assets as they move around. So you may have an engine that moves to 3 different forklifts in a year, but it's keeping track of not only the cost on that engine as it moves from location to location, but on that forklift as it has 2 or 3 different engines in that forklift over the course of a year. So it's keeping track of all that, which is pretty cool.